It's that one. It never does it. Hey, everybody. Come on in here. I'll give you a few minutes. Yeah, I got to get a theme song, like for real, for Healing Tuesday. It's my favorite day of the week. It's always a trying day, but it's my favorite day of the week because I get to do Healing Tuesday. So I'm going to have to get me a theme song. Somebody's going to have to produce me a theme song. Come on in here. I can't wait to see you guys. Hey, Nydia. Hey, Charles. Can't wait to see you guys. This should be an interesting conversation tonight. Let me see. You love my shirt? She said, I have 3. Yes, this is my first. Then I have another one that says Just God. And then I got Vark a few. And so, yeah, God is dope. Hey, Augustine. Yakima, Washington State. He said, yes, theme song. Yes, I know someone who was just there. That's funny. I didn't know you were from there. I have a friend whose brother lives there, Augustine. And he was there visiting his brother just a few weeks ago. So that was awesome. Tell us where you're from. Yeah, chime in. Nydia, what part of Florida do you live in, love? I think I saw that you were in Florida. What part of Florida are you in? I so wanted to listen to this one. I'll come back for this one. Trey, catch it in the replay. I'm going to give those instructions in just a moment anyway. Nydia, what part of Florida are you in? Or were you just in Florida for something and you left? Because I could have swore I saw something. Hey, Elia, how are you? Niceville, that is really a place. I thought you were joking. When it said Niceville, I thought you were just kind of making up a nice place. You're in Niceville. Okay. Yeah, you're up in the Panhandle. We way down here. Charles, I don't personally know them, but you would think that me being from Kalamazoo, I would know people from the strangest names. But I do. I have a friend who he's been a friend for a long time, Patrick. He was just in Yakima with his brother. His brother lives there, has an Airbnb, beautiful historic home, some other things going on. But he went to visit his brother to get a break from Texas. And he was in Yakima, which is crazy because I'd never heard of it until he went to see his brother. Elia, you're from Chicago. Okay, I didn't know that. It's good to know. I know Charles he's from Michigan by way. He now lives in Atlanta. So I know where Charles is from. Elia, I spent my childhood in Chicago. I'm from Kalamazoo, which is smack dab in between Detroit and Chicago. And so I have a lot of family in Chicago. That's where my grandfather's family seemed to stop coming in from Mississippi. And my grandfather went on to Kalamazoo. And that's another long story because I had to find out how out of everybody did you end up in Kalamazoo? There's a story behind it that I learned from a family member. She said, trust me, all my friends made fun of me when I moved here because they said I'm the opposite. Oh, Nydia. Now, look, I don't believe you're not nice. I believe you are a strong woman, and I get some of the challenges we both have had in our journey, and I'm still working through. But I think that's funny that they were like, I think you're nice. They're just trying to mess with you. So let's get into this, you guys. Tonight is a lot. It's going to be a lot. So just let's hold on and let's take this journey together. We're going to take it together. I do want to kind of do some housekeeping. I am going to pray beforehand because I know that this is going to be triggering. So I'm going to give the triggering alert, trigger alert, trigger alert. This is going to be triggering. It's intended to do so. I am someone who loves therapists. I am not a therapist. I am a coach. I'm a minister. I actually have an ordination. I am a licensed minister. I'm a lot of things. When I start to go through my bio and stuff, I'm like, I've done a lot of stuff. I've had a pretty awesome life. You and I will have to go find Meanville. Charles, you're crazy. But just knowing that this is going to be triggering, what I want you to do, I won't say also, what I want you to do is make sure that you share this. Share this with people that you know, not because it's triggering, but because we all need this kind of conversation. We all need to talk about this inner childhood, this inner me, the inner stuff that we're dealing with. So I want you to share this with people that you know will need it. Put it in their inbox. You don't have to put it on their page. Send it in their messenger. But make sure that you let them know that this is something that they're going to need to hear, but it may be triggering for them in a particular kind of way. And then those of you who are watching in replay, please put replay in the comment section for me so that I know you've come back to listen. Like Trey said, he'll have to catch it on the flip side. Elliot said, I have to prepare my little ones for the shower. If I miss this live, trust, I'm coming back for the replay. Much love to all. We're all in this together. May the Lord have his way tonight. Oh, thank you, Elliot. See, he's already praying us in this, you guys. And so let's pray. I just want to do a pretty simple prayer tonight, but I need for us to be, I got some notes down here that I'm looking at that I need to pay attention to, because I don't want to miss anything, and that's why I have my notes, especially tonight. So Heavenly Father, I thank you tonight that even as you are in this place with us, you said where two or more are gathered together in your name, that you are in the midst. And so we thank you for not only being in the midst of this with us, but you are in the midst of the trauma and the turmoil, the hurt and the pain, and everything that we endured. You did not cause it, but you have been with us through it. And I pray tonight that you would heal the hearts and minds of your people, that you would allow them to dig deep into the root and the things that they've buried, the things that they've hidden, the things that they've forgotten about. And you would bring them up, Father, as they need to come up. You would bring them up. You would bring up all the things that would be freeing to them. I am not the healer, you are. So I pray that I'm a conduit to speak your word in this moment, to speak the words that need to be heard so that others will be healed through this journey, through this conversation. I thank you for all these things in Jesus' name. So be it. Okay, so we've gotten the housekeeping, all of that stuff out of the way. Share, replay. Okay, so I want to tell you how I got to this conversation, right? How I decided that this was going to be the journey. And like for many of you, it fell in my lap, because many of you saw some stuff this week where it was just like, what in the world? So yes, I'm going to reference right now the Jada and Will Smith moment, but that is not my topic per se. That's why I didn't call it entanglement. That's why I didn't call it any of that, because I was struggling with it. I'm like, what do I call it? There was something that she said during that interview that struck me. And it made me realize that we have to first go in. We have to first dig into ourselves. And so this is from the inside out, and it's dealing with the inner me first. Because one of the things that she said that I was struggling with was the fact that, how did she put it? She said, I wanted to feel good, and I hadn't felt good in a long time. And it felt good to heal someone, is what she said. And then she went through this whole thing about how she got into an entanglement. I'm going to call it a relationship. This is not about the entanglement per se. And then she said she found her healing from that relationship. So one of the things that I have to recognize is I did see both interviews. And so I need to be able to put them together and say, she found her healing, but while healing him of one thing, he now is broken in another thing. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because that's the example that we have, but many of us, many of you have done the same thing, where you've been broken. And in your brokenness, you decided that you would still get into a relationship with someone without even trying to fix your brokenness, without even trying to heal any of your brokenness. And then you broke them even more so. I want to give these quotes that I found on social media this week that I think will help you understand where I want to go with this. A friend of mine named Artist, she happens to be a first lady. She said, let me see where I want to start. We need to start having the hard conversation about how a toxic entanglement can be when two broken people build a bond from their brokenness, and then they form this entanglement. So she's referring to two broken people getting together, and then they create a bond around their brokenness, right? Another person said, I've chased many entanglements, trying to break free and find me. This is Dana Martin. I wanted to find anything and anybody to heal my own brokenness. I'm not here to knock somebody for being broken, because in truth, if we're honest with ourselves, we're all broken. And that brokenness can cause a lot of detriment if we're not aware, nor do we acknowledge the brokenness. I want to read my last quote that kind of touches on what I'm saying right now. This is from Tara Hodges. She says, marriage, #marriage. My professor said something that stuck with me. You will marry a broken man and he will marry a broken woman. The key to a good marriage is not allowing their broken pieces to cut you and not using your broken pieces to cut them. I never forgot that. And then she says, don't miss out on a good marriage because you're waiting on perfection. I had to use those quotes because they were all in line with where and in step with where I want to go in this series. I want to focus tonight on what Dana said and how she said, finding anything and anybody to heal my own brokenness. I got a couple questions that came up while I was doing this. How do we inflict pain on others? When we're broken, how do we inflict pain on others? How do we do that? I want somebody to put something in the chat for me. How do we inflict pain on others when we're broken? How do we do that? You could even talk about what that looks like, because one of the things I talked about is when you are broken and you are getting into relationships and you're doing what Dana said, finding anything and anybody to heal my brokenness, you do leave a trail of dead bodies along the way. That can look like multiple baby mamas. That can look, and that's the obvious, right? That's like overtly, like I can see that. But in other ways, you just have a lot of broken relationships, and those people have been traumatized by you and can't get out of that cycle. But most of us won't ever know those people. Nydia says, okay, here we go. Nydia says, lashing out and projecting your insecurities on them. Yeah, you're cheating. You're a cheater. You're nervous. You're insecure. So you always blame. That's not male or female. You blame the person you're in relationship with. Blame them and say they're cheating when you don't have any proof. You really don't think it, but your insecurities are leading you in that direction. Anyone else? How does our brokenness inflict pain on others? And while you're thinking about that, how does our brokenness inflict pain on ourselves? That's another place I want to go. I'm trying to get y'all to chime in. This is an engagement. Let me say that too. I don't have all the answers. We're going to do some inner healing work tonight together. Because I still got some inner healing to do. The therapist goes to a therapist, y'all. The coach goes to a coach. Okay, so be clear that we are all there. And I want to bring up the fact that as I'm asking these questions, that you have to understand that for those of us who are on this page, majority of us, the inner healing work we need to do is surrounding our father wound. It's surrounding our fatherless issue, because that's where we were first traumatized. So know that that's where we're headed tonight. That's why I said it's going to be triggering. It's going to be triggering. Nydia's chiming in tonight because people are jumping off and on. I see you. Even if you're not cheating, you can blame them for cheating because you've done it in the past or it's happened in the past. Yes, Nydia, absolutely. And so let me go here because I want to ask the question. I'm going to give my answers in a moment. How does our brokenness not only inflict pain on others, but how does it inflict pain on us? What do we do to ourselves? Because I think that's the most damage that we can do. I think we do more damage to ourselves, and then as that damage continues to build, we then can continue to inflict more and more damage upon other people. As you guys are answering that, I want to say this before I even really get into the next thing. if we're going to talk about our father wound, if we're going to get into that place, into that dark place where this all started, I need to say this. Our parents did the best that they possibly could, being two wounded adults or two wounded child adults, right? Or I wrote it down right. Adult childhood or adult children. See, I'm stuttering tonight. Adult children. They were adult children from the beginning. And our parents aren't bad people. They're just wounded children. So they did the best they could being adult wounded children. That's why we're going to add that together. They did the best they could. And I know sometimes I used to say, well, that ain't good enough. But it's the best they had. It's the capacity that they had. And in having that capacity, we now have grown up without our fathers because they were wounded and they couldn't communicate. They couldn't get it together. They were living out generational traumas and curses of themselves. They didn't heal their inner child. And now it's time for us to heal our inner children and inner child so that we do not pass this on to the next generation. And not just the next generation, but so that we don't go around looking for anything and anybody to heal our brokenness. There was something else that Dana said that I wrote down that I thought kind of goes with tonight, but not fully. She said she was always trying to break free in order to find herself. And that to me, I think, is what people do. They go from one relationship to the next, right? I always mess up the quote, right? Because I didn't do this. But I'm not here to shame anybody. That's the other thing I need to say. This has to be a safe place for us. This has to be a place where we can trust to be authentic. And I'm always going to be authentic and genuine and lay it out for you as far as who I am and what I have going on so that you can feel comfortable doing the same and others will follow. But I need you to know that this is the safe place. This is where we all want to connect and be, and then trust that we can find help and we can find support in this room. So let me go ahead and say that. So what I want to say, my answers to the questions that I asked. See, she's reminding me of what I was going to say. What I was going to say is the whole thing about how to get over old booty is new booty. That's what people do. And they don't recognize that the new booty is still following them to the old booty. And then before you know it, you got all these old booties traveling behind you in this baggage. Can you imagine? See, that was a picture in my head. Bunch of booties behind you. See, I'm dumb. I'm being silly. People would rather change partners, than do the work to change themselves. See, you said that last week or the week before, Nydia, and that was like, boom, that was crazy. People would rather change partners than do the work to change themselves. See, she was all professional. I got real ghetto and hood in that part of it. But I'm gonna have to use that next time. But y'all know what statement I'm making. And you have a trail of bodies. Can we go spiritual for a moment? You have spiritual soul ties that follow you from one relationship to the next. And then you do damage to that other person and then the next person. And then the damage gets worse and worse because it is a wound, it is trauma that you are now inflicting on others. So I asked the question, how does brokenness inflict pain on others? I wrote down, by getting into relationships before healing your own. You can see when you don't heal your own stuff, what you then do is you carry baggage after baggage. You pick up bags every time you leave a relationship. A breakup is brokenness. Most of us don't do it right, so we're not even going to act like, well, if you did it amicably or if you did it, most of us don't do it right. So a breakup is going to bring brokenness with it. It's going to bring heartbreak and pain. A lot of individuals have cheated. They didn't do it right. A lot of individuals have walked out of marriages. They didn't do it right. They're fussing and fighting. And when that really doesn't even have anything to do with why, you are in a divorce or in a breakup anyway. It's the inner childhood. It's the inner trauma that you have. It's the inner me. Number two, how do we then inflict brokenness upon ourselves? I put by not giving ourselves permission to grieve the loss, the pain, or the trauma. When you do not give yourself permission to heal, to grieve the loss, the trauma, whatever that is, you find yourself suppressing it. You find yourself stuffing it down. You find yourself acting as if you're just fine and everything's okay, when on the inside you're not okay. On the inside, then you carry this into something else. I'm trying to kind of go slow because I know there's some stuff that's going to bubble up and come up that I've already written down here that I'm going to pull out on purpose. And so I don't want to go too fast because and I know we only got 30 minutes now, I'm looking at the time, but I want to make sure that I take my time kind of building the foundation for you as we move into this. So the inner me must start with healing your inner child. I want some of you to put in the chat, how old is your inner child? Do you know? Have you ever tapped into it? The way you discover how old your inner child is, and we've done this work on camera, I've done it. That's how I know how old my inner child is. It's the first place you remember trauma or a wound. Or maybe not remember, but you remember the scenario, the situation. And some of you may not know because you have forgotten the trauma. Like sometimes you can forget it immediately when it happens. Maybe you're too young, whatever that is. But I can tell you that my inner child is 12 years old. 12 years old. So if Tori's acting up in a relationship, she's 12. Can we tell the truth, somebody? You're dealing with a 12-year-old Tori. You're not dealing with a 46-year-old Tori. That's kind of weird, isn't it? That someone thinks that they're dealing with a 46-year-old, but if you trigger me, if you hit something, if you get me to a place where, I don't know, because I can't even answer what that is at this second. Yes, I can. When I'm talking to my mother and we start digging into some of the stuff that we have going on, I turn into a 12-year-old at times. Turn into a 12-year-old. Nydia says, I want to say she's between 5 and 7. Nydia, since you're chiming in, have you ever heard your inner child speak to you? I have. And it's when I'm triggered. It's when something has triggered me and I turn into that 12-year-old. So I want to know, because look, I know this is the Fatherless Generation Foundation page. So let me have this conversation with you before we go any further. Many of you got into relationships and your inner child showed up. And when your inner child showed up, it continued to be triggered throughout the relationship because it was reminding you of the toxic parent or the absent father that you experienced in your life. And so therefore, you then got a divorce or you had a breakup. And in that divorce and in that breakup, you then found yourself dealing with another person who had triggers and their inner child was showing up. And now you're in a petty situation where you can't see your children. But the foundation of why you're being alienated and why you can't see your children is the inner childhood trauma. The inner you has not been healed, and you have to deal with it. It is not something you're going to be able to escape. I think for some, not to say that it's right, but I believe that God will use what the enemy meant for our harm, for our good. And I believe for some of you, if you would throw aside the anger, if you would just throw it aside just for a moment. I'm not even asking you to get rid of it. If you would just throw it aside for a moment and you deal with the inner child. If you just throw this, your alienation is an opportunity for you to heal. It feels like more trauma, but if you heal, you won't be responding as the 12-year-old or whatever that age is for you. You'll be responding from the adult man or woman that you are because you've healed that place, and you'll be able to see it with different lenses and with different eyes and a fresh perspective. So I've got to say that to you right now. That's why this work is important on this page, because many of the people who are on this Facebook Live and it's on Periscope, it's on all these platforms, right? And LinkedIn and YouTube, what will happen is as we are watching this, how do I put this? I'll say it this way. As you are dealing with all of this stuff, I need you to recognize and acknowledge that just maybe, your alienation is because of your because of the fatherlessness that you've engaged in, or you endured, or you journeyed through, however that word is, whatever I need to say. Nydia, I asked you a question. She said, I don't, oh, she said, I asked her if she's ever heard it, her inner child. And she said, I don't think so, but maybe. Maybe more so when I get ignored and it triggers me into acting a fool. Yeah. Chris, I see you on here. Chris is making faces. He's got angry. Why are you so angry? Men that tends to be their emotions. So I know I just deviated in saying that particularly about those who are in alienation and who are growing up fatherless. Like, you guys have to know this is important for you. That's why I'm going slow. This is super important for you. So as I said it before, the inner me must start with the inner child. This is something that I've been thinking about the last few days. In order to heal trauma, it must be confronted, violently confronted at the root and not approached from the branches or the leaves. A lot of times we tend to deal with things, leaves, branches. How do I put this? The reason I'm saying that is because we like to deal with the stuff that happens, the situations. We blame it on the relationships. We blame it on everything else, right? But we don't look at the root, and the root is the father wound. The root of this is your father wound. It is the fact that your father was not present. It's the fact that your father was present, but he wasn't engaging and he wasn't emotionally there for you. It's the fact that your dad has passed on. It's the fact that your father was in and out of your life and there were promises that he didn't keep that you needed him to keep. That's where this is where it all lands. So let's go in. Childhood trauma is tough because it's unseen. But because it's unseen doesn't mean it's unreal. Never let somebody tell you, oh, that's your childhood, so you just need to move on. You just need to let it go. Stop letting people tell you that. People say the dumbest stuff. They tell you, oh, that's in the past. You can't dwell on the past. I'm not asking you to dwell on the past. What I'm asking you to do is confront it. I'm asking you to confront the past so that you can heal and then you move on. But do not let cliches and do not let people tell you things to make you move on from a situation. It is the worst kind of trauma to inflict upon someone when you say, well, that's just the past. What you're doing is trying to get them to ignore the wound and the pain that they have. And our father's not being present is not an excuse, it's a reason. So when people say that thing too, it bothers me. Oh, you didn't have your father, that's an excuse. No, it's a reason. If someone doesn't have their father, then that means that they don't know how to be a good father. They've seen it on TV. They've seen it in neighbors. They've read it in books, but they don't know what it's like on the inside of their own home to see a man parent. So to tell a man that because that's just an excuse because you didn't have a father, that's an excuse. Other men have figured it out. Maybe they have. I don't even want to say they figured it out. They're doing it the best of their ability. And some of us, when it comes to this inner child, I want to give you some of the things that happen, which is the father wound is the pain point. But how does this pain point come out? What are the leaves and branches? That's what I want to get into. It's anger. I can tell you right now, that's the number one thing that men go to. And it's not that women don't go to anger. We do. That's part of Nydia talking about acting like a fool. Promiscuity is another one. I say it in memes all the time. Fatherless children know how to be sexual, but they have a very difficult time being intimate. So promiscuity leads you to this place. You're going to advertise on my page, bro. Can't with you. It leads you to a place where you're leaving dead bodies, where you're looking for anything and anybody to help you heal. Sex can't help you heal. It only helps you feel good in the moment. And some of you have had sex where you've now created children. And now that person, because you didn't know them that well, or it was a one night stand, or you really didn't know them like you thought you knew them, or whatever that situation was, you married them too soon, whatever it was. now you can't parent your own children because you made a decision in a moment because you, like Jada, wanted to feel good. You hadn't felt good in a long time. Another one of my favorite memes is broken women look for love, broken men look for relief. Some of you ladies have been a relief for a man. It's not that men don't want love, but if they are broken and that is what they're leading with, they're looking for relief from the brokenness. That's what Dana, and that's a female, that's what she was talking about. She was looking for relief in anything and anybody, hoping that they would help her heal. Chris said, see, guilty. We're all guilty of that. Some more than others. But people have to recognize that women are looking for love even in their brokenness. They're just looking for it, as the song says, in all the wrong places. They're looking for love in all the wrong men. And so what happens is this inner child, this inner me, she's picking in hopes to fix what she didn't get from her father. She's picking a parent. This is another quote that I found this week that I thought was super powerful. Emotional abandonment will have you searching for a parent and a partner. That's what trauma does. That's what inner childhood trauma does. That's where the pain points come out. So these leaves and branches that I'm talking about, this is how they manifest. Oh, my favorite. You're stuck. Many of you are stuck and don't know why. You just can't. Like life is just something stuck. Why are you stuck? You're stuck because it's your season to get free. It's your season to get healed, but you've got to do it a certain way. You're stuck because that subconscious is trying to tell you, hey, there's something deep on the inside that we need to deal with right now. And you can't get unstuck until you get past that. Another way that this comes out is self-sabotage. Broken relationships is another one. And I can go through it over and all over. I can just go through a million of these. I don't have that kind of time. So I want to show you, I want to give you this analogy because we're going to be dealing with this over weeks. I'm taking my time with this just like I did the sexual abuse in India. I'm going to take my time with this inner me and this inner healing. And I got therapists and coaches coming on to help you guys with that too. But I need you to go here with me. If you bruise yourself, you stubbed your toe, you hit your arm, sometimes you wake up and you're like, oh, that's sore. What did I do? And sometimes we do it so, hitting the wall, oh, keep it moving, you keep going. And you wake up and you have a bruise on your arm and you're like, where did that come from? Sometimes it takes time for a bruise to actually come up after the trauma. Something on our arm or our leg or our body, right? It can heal, it'll heal over time, but before it heals, it gets darker and darker and darker. And then eventually it will heal if it's taken care of. But if it's not taken care of, it may not heal. It may become infected. I want you to recognize, because I know you're on here and we're all at different healing points. I need you to acknowledge the fact that you let your father wound go too long and now it's infected. And not only is it infected, but it's infecting other people. And it's infecting pretty much everyone you've come into contact with in a relationship aspect. That inner me is now infecting other people. And I got to tell you, we always say this thing called, this whole term, time heals all wounds. Time does not heal a father wound. Only the work that needs to be put into this does. That's it. You can't just let time go by and think that this is going to heal it. I want you to understand that as we are going through this, we'll probably go through it the next few weeks, maybe 3 to 4 weeks. I want you to understand this from me. Trauma will require you to feel. Those of you who have been told, boys don't feel, suck it up. Boys don't cry, suck it up. You're going to have to feel over the next few weeks. And I need you to feel because on the other side of this, you'll be free. You'll have the relationships that you need to have. And you'll be able to even look, this isn't prophetic. This is just part of the work. And I've seen it done. You may then reconnect with your children that you haven't connected with. You have zero contact with. Just do the work. I know you're like, what is, I know some of you, I can hear many of, like, I know the conversation. What does that have to do with me seeing my kids? It has everything to do with you seeing your kids. So when I say this trauma will require you to feel, what are you going to feel? You're going to feel emotions that you've normally suppressed. What are the emotions you suppress concerning your father wound? Feelings of abandonment, rejection, the feelings of guilt and shame, the feelings of illegitimacy. Yeah. One thing that I have been reading up on is the imposter syndrome. And I can tell you, there are a lot of us who are fatherless who deal with that. You feel like you're in the wrong place at the wrong time and you deserve something else, even when it's good. You're like, maybe I don't deserve this. I feel like I'm in the wrong place. You guys should look up imposter syndrome. It's a real thing. You feel like you just don't belong there. That's another pain point that comes out. Ryan said, too much to type, but yes. I feel you, Ryan. That's why, look, I'm taking my time with this one. Nydia said, anger. Yeah. Emotions you normally suppress. I think we suppress anger because there's scripture around it and people have taken it out of context, at least for me. And then people then flip the scripture, although they're not spiritual people, they use it as a way to make you, use it in a way to make you feel guilty, right? And so you don't want to feel anger. It's like, be angry, but sin not, right? Anger is not a bad thing. It's just don't sin while you're doing it. I want to also say this before I even go into the next one. You know what happens when your pain points are triggered and manifesting? What happens when those things are triggered and manifesting is they can actually pull you away from your destiny. They can literally pull you into what the world calls, or the spiritual world calls, sin, right? They call it sin, but sin is simply missing the mark. It can pull you away from the mark that has been called for you, that place, that straight line where you know where you're supposed to go. And that's why so many of you think you know your calling, but then you go, well, maybe I don't know it. Because the sin, the missing the mark, the pain point is pulling you away from where you're supposed to be. And this father wound has to be healed. You want to walk into your calling and your destiny? Tap into this. How do you think I got here? Let me tell this story. I wasn't able to get on here and do what I do because I was just like, oh, I just want to start a foundation one day. No, number one, I'm a woman. And then people feel like this is a space for a man. So that was a tough one to begin with. And then you're a woman talking about women. How dare you keep kids away from their dads? That's number two. I'm in trouble twice now. And then you're talking about reuniting. No one was reuniting anybody. So how was I supposed to do this? I spent a lot of time in prayer, guys. And prayer doesn't have to be deep. It was my crying out, not only for my calling, but for my healing. It was my crying out that I needed my inner me healed so that I could be the best me that the world could receive, that the world could interact with. And that's where some of you need to go. The inner me needs to be crying out. I don't know what it is, God, but I need you to heal me. Your word says that you heal the brokenhearted, that you bind up my wounds. That's what the word says. So if he's going to heal me, and that's a promise that he has for me, because God is dope, then I need to access that. And I access that on my floor. I access that in my chair. I access that in my bed. I access that in my car. I became desperate to heal the inner me that was broken from not growing up with my father. I didn't have an issue with my dad anymore because I had reunited with him, but there were still some leaves and branches because I'd already confronted the father situation, but now the leaves and branches were still manifesting things. And I was like, okay, there's something still at the root of this that I need to deal with. And that was still feeling rejected in places, growing up in a toxic household. Not as a child, but as an adult, that became a thing. And we've already talked about that. For those of you who don't know, just go to Toxic. I think it's Toxic Mom Part 1 and Part 2. That's on a Healing Tuesday. But I was able to access the place where I could deal with my emotions and feel them with the presence of God there. And some of you don't recognize the presence of God, but it is like a cool sensation that's full of peace, that makes the room stand still, and your heart just finds this. And I'm just trying to give you like what I feel, right? It's like this washing over you. It's like a calming that just comes over you. That's the peace of God entering. That's God's presence entering a room. But as long as you're doing all of this, you can't get that. So you need to be everything you think you need to say. Tonight is just me kind of laying the foundation, I think, for this. But I want you to be doing this over the next 7 days. I'm going to put some journaling things in there, and I'm going to put some worksheets on this page and also in I've Got Daddy Issues for you to work on over the next week. Because I need for you to really get this. And if you need a therapist, if you don't have one, inbox me. I've got them. I know them. I'm not going to leave you hanging. I know enough. They're doing virtual calls. You're taken care of. If you need a therapist, inbox me. Hit the inbox button now. Because this is going to require a lot of work from you. But when you get to the other side, you will know your purpose and you will be healed in a way where you will be able to have a relationship with your children, including your father, if he's still around. And even walking in forgiveness. Like, I'm telling you, do I need therapy? Chris, I am not answering that. Hold on. I'm sorry. I'm ignoring some things because I'm talking a little much. What did he say? Chris, keep playing the guitar, bro. Thank you for using your strengths to reach people. Thank you, Robert, for saying that. Chris knows why I made that face at him. Chris says, I'm trying, brother. Got a lot of fight in me, but I need help with this battle. You need to keep playing like he was the one who told you exactly what I said to you. You keep fighting the wrong way. We need to get back to our discussion before it was interrupted. Fighting for fatherhood. Yeah, that wasn't interrupted. That was his plan. Robert says, for some, it is hard to only be a visitor. A person waits for 2 weeks to see their children for 2 days. And every 2 weeks, I felt like I lost my kids all over again. That makes it hard to heal. I overcame that feeling, but there are a lot of parents out there that feel like they're losing their child all over again. That's very true. That's why this isn't going to be a one-night thing. This is a process. But I want you to connect with, what was your relationship like with your father, Robert? That's where I'm going right now. What was that like? And where are you in that process? Where are you in that healing journey? My phone is going nuts, you guys, because people are chiming in on Periscope. And I'm not prepared. I'm not used to that. That's why you keep hearing that vibration. So let's kind of round this up, and I'm gonna go through these points. This trauma will require you to feel emotions that you normally suppress. And then now that you have it, I want you to say, grieve the pain you feel. Grief is something we skip over. And we learn what that grief looks like through the social worker, Margot, when she came on. You have to grieve the loss and the pain and the trauma. When you don't do that, you're still suppressing it. And then you get to a point where you can trust that you can Release the real you that you've locked away. That's where we're going to go through this process. The real you that you've locked away. You have to create a space once you feel the emotions, once you grieve it, then you get to a place where you can trust. I'm going to take you through these. And I got some people coming on who's going to help take you through these. Where you can trust that the person that you've locked away, protecting them from the people who've traumatized you, can now be released, can now walk out free. I want you to realize too that the protection, the wall of protection that you have built has now become your prison. And that's why we got to get to the inner me, because you can't get to intimacy without that. Without dealing with the inner me, you'll never allow anybody to see it, and you'll always lock them away. I can't with you, Chris. Look, they're talking about his music. Your music is unstoppable force. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Robert. Yeah. Robert said, my father is a good man, but because of family court situation, I've lost my family. Okay. Yeah, I got you. I wasn't saying your dad was a bad man. I was just trying to figure out where that was. I want you, because I can get distracted really easily, and I don't want to. So over the next week, I want you to acknowledge. I want you to receive guidance from those who can help you. I want you to be able to then walk into your healing, and then I want you to be able to grow. These are the 4 things that we're going to go through. So this week is really about acknowledging your inner me is broken. I want you to spend time this week asking, seeking, meditating, breathing. Find out how old your inner child is. I can tell you 12 because I've done that work. And I did it on a live when we were on After the Therapist, I want to say. I did it on a live to teach people how to do it. And I heard her like, oh, she's 12. I didn't hear her. I heard she's 12 and you need to have your mother speak to the 12-year-old you and not the 46-year-old you. And some of us may have different ages because trauma has hit us in different ages and different times. The inner me. Inner me. Inner you has you looking for, the broken inner you has you looking for, and I'm going to finish with this next 9-10 minutes with this conversation. The inner you has you looking for anything in anybody to help you heal. I want you to think about the anythings and the anybodies that you have presented yourself to. And let's just say lay down with. This is a grown-up conversation. It is after dark. Look, Nydia, this is healing after dark tonight. Who did you sleep with? Who did you lay down with and had an entanglement with, which then caused brokenness, not just in you, but also in them? I want you to write those names down. It's going to take some work, y'all. It's going to take some work because we're going to break some stuff. Like you guys have slept with people you didn't even know who they were. You don't even know who they are at this point. You don't know how painful it was when you guys broke up, or some of you ladies. Look, I don't put that all off on men. I think women do some bad and dirty stuff. I know that men get a bad rap, but I also want to acknowledge the fact that women do some real dirty stuff too when it comes to sex, especially in this day and age. We will put ourselves out there, say we don't want a relationship, and then sleep with men, leaving dead bodies just as much as the guys do now. Chris, I am not talking to you about this tonight. And I'm not calling you first thing in the morning. Just be clear. I did some serious work today. I want to go back here because I can't lie to you guys. This isn't an easy conversation for me to have with you. I don't know why, but it's not. Maybe because I'm nervous in a way, because how do I say this? Because I really, 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 really want you guys free. And I want those who are watching free, because I know what freedom feels like. And I get a lot of inboxes, and I get a lot of conversations that I have that I don't charge anybody for. Don't tell my husband. Um, but I do it because I want them free. And so my heart is super heavy as I'm talking about this, because I want you free. I want you free from looking for anybody and anything to heal you. Only God can heal you. Only He can get that done. He uses people to do it, but only He can get that done. And I know some people, you don't believe in God. That's fine. I'm not here to press Him upon you. But you're going to have to cry out to someone or something. So that's therapy and coaching in order to get you the life that you deserve. There are some of you that I can feel in my spirit. Your life is hanging in the balance. And if you don't get free in this season, you're unsure as to when you're going to. And so that's why I'm going to take my time. As much as I wanted to say tonight, as much as I didn't know how I was going to go, I was like, I got to take my time in this to help them get free. Inner me is, when it's broken, it becomes your enemy. It keeps you locked away. And then you cannot have the relationship you want. You are stuck in a generational cycle, in family patterns that you're even unaware of. And this week, I pray and decree and declare that many of you will see the generational cycles and patterns that you're stuck in from this trauma. And this trauma isn't new to you. This trauma isn't new to your family line. This trauma has been seeking out you and every family member for generations. And you're just the last victim on their list. And now they're waiting to get your children. And some of you don't have children in your homes and in your possession because the enemy now can have free access and reign to them to do the same thing. Anybody and anything to heal you when only God can do that. So this week, we're going to write down the anybody's and anythings. Look at my nose running. I'm sorry. The anybody's and anythings that we've laid down with. That's your private journaling. That's your private time. I don't need to know their names. You can share that. And let me say this too. Get an accountability partner this week. I'm making you do some work. I'm going to make you do some work. Get an accountability partner. If it's your best friend, if it's a coworker that you trust, whoever it is you trust that's not judgmental. Get someone that you trust that's not, they're not going to be judgmental. And ask them, if I need to bounce something off of you, if I just need to call you and vent, if I just need to, can I do that? Because not all of you are going to access a therapist just this fast. You can, but not all of you are going to do it. So if you could just get an accountability partner, I don't care if you just talk to them on the phone. We're in COVID, so maybe you email them. How about this? Email yourself what it is you need to say. Journal it. Some of you don't like writing on paper. Email it to yourself. One lady told me one time, I was speaking at it was like a halfway house or rehab. It was between halfway and then rehab place for women. And one lady said, I'm actually illiterate. I can't write. Record it. Your phone has a recorder. Record it. Pour out your heart. It needs to be poured out. And I see you talking about that with Chris. I'm not even going to have that conversation with Chris anymore. I just have to do the work. She said, Nydia, about being free. I just have to do the work. That is my problem. I stay still and sit stagnant. Not this week, Nydia. Not this week. See, COVID is still hovering. And so we still kind of have a little time to breathe. And everything's still going a little slower than it was before COVID hit. But I need you guys to take this time to do this work. I see you, Ryan. Ryan said, amen, tell it. Tina says, it takes hard work to be free. Many people just won't take the time, the effort, the money, sacrifices to be free. I feel what you're saying. When you have been set free, you want it for each and every person you encounter. Tina, I'm telling you, my heart is heavy. He said, I'm working on the perfect book for this platform. I got a lot of books and a lot of people who email me things. So Nick, let me know what's going on. I have advocates that are more than willing to be a good ear. Okay. So there are people who are willing to do this for you. Dads who are being alienated, I want you to go to the men's room because we're activating that this week. I got coaches and I got therapists like on pause. And ladies, you can go to the ladies' room because that's a place where therapists and coaches are as well. Yes, Nick, you can DM me on this platform. That's the place where you can get some work done, or you can go to I've Got Daddy Issues. We're activating all of that come Monday, right? Next Monday, I'm sorry. So you're going to have to do some work before I activate it all. This has been a lot of work to get it together, to have the right people in that room to help you guys do this work. I know tonight was not what I expected it to be. It's just kind of laying the groundwork. And I don't know how comfortable I am. Okay, let me ask this. Because we haven't done this talk. How many of us want to talk about healing the inner me, dealing with, like, let's getting real about the sex stuff? Put a 1 in the box. And then I'll let you put something else that you, when it's dealing with the inner me, what else would you want to deal with? Because the sex thing, I did not want to talk about Jada Pinkett Smith, but I knew that she said something that I wanted to reference tonight. And I wanted to tap on. But how many of you want to go deeper into the sex conversation about this and how you can break free and how you use people to deal with that? You use people sexually to deal with it. I don't know why I have a hard time talking about sex in public. That's just weird, but I'm struggling. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't talk about sex in public, so I'm kind of struggling with what to say and what not to say tonight, although I don't know. But we grown, so let me know. Where you guys at? Are you okay with talking about that? Put a 1 in the box if you are. Like, we can go hardcore into that conversation. Put a 2 in the box if you're like, please no, I'm not comfortable. Jessica said, when I was baptized, I felt free. I felt that feeling of wanting and what I felt for everybody I knew and loved. For some reason, I don't heal. Sorry. Robert said, this is good. As a man, I thank you for the bottom of my heart. Oh, Nydia said 1 in the box. Okay, whoops. Sorry, y'all. My thing just jumping. Oh, everybody wants to go hardcore. Okay. See, it's odd. We're from different generations. Oh, okay. I talk about all of it. Okay, 111 DM sent. Okay. All the ladies is like 1. Let's get into this hardcore conversation about sex and healing the inner me from all of the sex stuff that I've had and I've done. Where the men at? Y'all don't want to talk about sex at all? Y'all don't want to get into it? Hey, Monique. Girl, I was going to call you today. I know I'm supposed to talk to you in the morning, but I was going to call you today. I had something to get off my chest. Jessica put a 1 too. Okay, I'm going to have to breathe because I don't know if I've ever. Ooh, wee. Okay. Men, where y'all at? Y'all want to talk about this hardcore sex and how we got here with the inner me and the brokenness, or you don't? 1, you do. 2, you don't. Because all the ladies have chimed in. All of them. I got like 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah. See? So the men don't want to talk about sex. That's new. That's a first. Nick says 1. Okay. Your focus is different. How, Ryan? Ryan said, I guess my focus is different. So tell me what you would want to talk about in this conversation of healing the inner me. No, it's fine. He said, it's all good though. No, I want to know. Hey, Sarah, it was good talking to you today. What is your focus, Ryan? That's why I said put a 2 in the box if you don't. And what is it that you guys would want to talk about? Because I'm taking requests at this point. We're gonna go deep then. My brain was not quite ready, but my heart wants you guys free. And if my heart wants you free, I've got to talk about what's bothering you and how you got there. You know what I'm saying? He said, I'm still interested. Okay. All right. So from the inside out, inner me. Next week is sex and how we got here, basically. I don't know what the title's going to be. I'm going to find something real ridiculous. Nick said alienation of fathers. I touched on that a little bit. Yep. Yep. Oh, Sarah, I'm asking the question, what do we want to talk about in the scope of this conversation of from the inside out, healing the inner me? One of the conversations that I saw on Facebook was a person said that they were seeking out anything and anybody in order to heal themselves, who could heal them. And one of the conversations that led me to this particular one was the fact that Jada Pinkett Smith said that she wanted to feel good and she wanted to be, feel good. And then she felt good to heal somebody. And then she got into an entanglement, as people kept calling it, or she called it, and people kept doing memes all over social media. But what really stood out to me was she got healed from the relationship, but the young man she was in relationship with was broken. And so that's where we're going to go next week. We're going to go into how sex can lead to brokenness, even more so, and healing for somebody else. PTSD from past trauma. Okay, I'm gonna go back and watch this. I wasn't ready because maybe I'm blocking. What am I blocking? See, I'm blocking something, y'all, in my own space. Yeah. And Jessica, I remember you were on during the sexual abuse conversation. I think some of my trauma comes from my stepfather molesting me. I blame my bio father for not being there to protect me. I also blame my mother. Yeah, child. Were you on for the sexual fatherlessness and the sexual abuse conversation, Jessica? If not, you need to go back and watch that series. It is powerful. It is one of my favorites to date. And many people can relate to what you're saying here. Yeah, Nydia said, I understand that more than you know. Yes, she does. If Jessica, were you on for that? I don't think you, now that I think about it, I don't think you were on for that particular one. I think you've joined us after that one. I think you joined us in the last series. You need to go back to fatherlessness and sexual abuse. How many of you who are on here agree with that? Nydia, do you agree that she needs to watch that? Yeah. Oh, I see her answering that. Okay, I see how that came about. Abuse from failing foster care system. Oh, Sarah throwing them out there. I need to watch it again. I think I did. That's when I actually joined. Okay. I'm like, I've seen your name, but yep, Nydia agrees. Yeah, even if you go to the last, you go to the one with the therapist, and then you go to maybe the first one when I'm telling my story, but a lot of people are chiming in at that point. And okay, Sarah's listing a whole bunch of things. See, I didn't want to call Monique out, but I'm glad she chimed in. Stepfather filled me up in my mom's washroom. And I feel that I feel that changed me. He always looked at me and said sexual things. See, I know Monique's story. Monique did I've Got Daddy Issues with me in Dallas. And Monique told that story in front of her father that she had reunited with And he had come to the I've Got Daddy Issues tour date that night, and he did not know. And you watch this father like raise up. And when she was like, he's dead. He's dead. Like she had to tell him he's dead. He was going to raise that man from the grave, let me tell you. He was going to raise him from the dead and kill him again. But she told that story about being felt up and molested and things like that in front of her father, who wasn't present, Jessica. And I can tell you, you guys probably have some things in common as well. I'm in his nephew. Yeah. Yeah. Your stepfather's nephew. Exactly. Yeah. So the stepfather's nephew was the one who molested her, not her stepfather. Let me put it, she's clarifying that. Okay, you guys, next week, because I'm blocking something. I don't know what I'm blocking. I'm going to just keep it real with you. Next week, we're going to jump into the acknowledgement and the guidance piece. We're going to totally focus on how this sex and getting under anybody and anything has us blocked, has us broken, has us stuck, and has us manifesting darkness in other people's lives. There are people who we have had sex with who they don't have anything good to say about us because, once again, we left a trail of dead bodies behind us. I don't know about tonight. I'm still trying to figure it out. See, I don't get on here for perfection. I'm going to be honest. And you guys know this. Those who are new to this, Healing Tuesdays is healing for me just as much as it is for you. And the engagement is part of the journey for all of us because we are all at different places. We're at different places. I will admit, next week I'll do some admitting of as we talk about sex. I don't talk about sex. Shh, don't tell nobody. So there's a couple of things that I know Sarah wants to talk about abuse. We're going to get, if you go back to the fatherless stuff, when it comes to sexual abuse, that is in there. That's Margot Thompson talks about that. That's what I'm praying for, Jessica, that God will work through me to speak to you guys. I think tonight was me getting a gauge. No, we're not going to talk. You want to talk about some of it now, Nydia? You got some time? Nydia's like, I'm not getting off of this until we talk about this now. Y'all got 20 minutes. Who's got 20 minutes? Raise your hand. 20 minutes. I'm only going to give 20 minutes. I will go over I'll go over 30 minutes so we can talk about some of this now. Who's got 20 minutes or who's like, let's go next week? Nydia's to laugh out loud. You got 20 minutes? Anything or anybody to find your healing. Jessica said, I got 20 minutes. Okay. No, we can, let's go here. Nydia said, let's go next week. I'm a tap on this just a little bit tonight. Anything and anybody. She said, I got to be up early for the gym. Ryan raised his hand. You outvoted already, Nydia. We're only going to do 20 minutes. I'm only going to go till 10:30. Okay, so let's go here. Anything or anybody. We're only going to touch on this. Anything or anybody. Anything or anybody to find your healing. Tina said, do it. Y'all funny tonight. Monique said next week is good. No, we're going to tap on it tonight. We're going to touch on this. Acknowledging that you have slept with anything and anybody to find your healing and that you left dead bodies along the way. I was struggling with not getting into this and being this person. Anything or anybody. I want to keep saying that. Anything or anybody. This week, as you write down the names of the people that you slept with, the people that you allowed to enter sacred space with, I also want you to write down the names. Nydia, you be making them emojis and now I can't see it on this thing. I can't see it on here, but I'm looking on my phone. No judgment, none of this. I want you to talk. I want you to write down names of individuals that you know you had abortions with. This isn't my journey, and I'm not trying to claim anybody or embarrass anyone. But and I'm talking, and see, men make women write that down, and they don't. If you got her pregnant, you participated. Write down the name of the person. Anything and anybody to find your healing. See what Tori did, and I'm gonna tell y'all, see, this is why I'm blocking. What Tori did was she went abstinent so that she didn't get under anything and anybody. That's not to brag. It's not a bragging point. In many ways, that's out of fear, because I was in fear that I would become a single mother. And so I lived in fear even in my sexual journey and in my sexual space. Although, how do I put this? Because my husband is watching and I ain't cleared none of this by him. Although I'm a very sexual person. And so there's a place where you can live in fear. And then on the other side of things, you don't get what it is you want because of that fear. Right? And that's probably why even now I'm like, y'all want to talk about sex? Like, y'all want to really get into this sex? Fine, let's get into sex. Just because you didn't have sex with a bunch of men does not make you a hero or someone who needs to be applauded, especially when it's out of fear. It's out of fear. It's out of fear. And when people get under anything, and when they don't get under anything in anybody, you use other things, you use other tools. And I used other tools to search out my healing. Education, running away from my family, friendships, other types of relationships. And don't get it twisted. I've had sexual arrangements. I wasn't a virgin when I got married. I've had arrangements with unavailable men. I've had arrangements with those people. But then there were times when I was unavailable. But I just wanted to feel good for the moment, just like many of you did. And then you let someone, as a woman, you let a man condom use, but sometimes we don't. And then you let a man deposit things into you, and then you let a woman take your manhood in the midst of those conversations and those moments. And so then the inner you is wounded even more so. Because you just wanted to feel good for the moment. You just wanted to feel a type of intimacy without actually real intimacy. So as we do this hard work this week, and as we talk about sex for this brief moment, because we're going to go here, I'm going to let it go here next week, for real, for real. I just want to clear some things by my husband before I say some stuff. Not about us, but I want to make sure, I'm pretty sure he knows stuff, but I want to clear it by him before I put it all out here. But that fear, I believe, has also caused me and many, and like Nidhi said, many of you to be stuck in trauma. I was stuck in watching my mother be a single mom. I was stuck in the trauma of not having my father present. So I lived in a place of fear where I decided that and some Christians would applaud it, but I'm telling you, at 46, you ain't got no kids and you got questions. Come on. At 46, I'm going, should I or shouldn't I? Was that spiritual? So let me say this. I went to religion, not spirituality and relationship at the time. I learned that later. But I went to religion as a way to look for my healing. And it was only fake. It only hurt me even more. It caused me church hurt. So here I am, the church girl, and y'all like, let's talk about sex. And I'm like, not that I'm not sexual, not that I don't have sex, but I'm like, oh, because I clung to something else. Not that I was perfect. Tina said I was addicted to feeling wanted. Heaven is definitely within me, Lucas. That's Periscope, y'all. I'm learning how to look at Periscope. It is definitely. I'm in a relationship and have 2 kids and still want to feel wanted. I think we all have different journeys, and I don't want to make it sound like I'm Miss Goody Two Shoes and perfect, because I did have a conversation with my husband this week where I simply said to him, I wish I was the bad girl at some point. I wish I wasn't always the good girl. Isn't that crazy? That's what I wish. This is why Healing Tuesday is real, because I'm going to be authentic and I'm going to be genuine. I'm going to let my healing, whatever that is, in the midst of all of this, take place. Wow. Y'all making me dig into a place that I haven't touched in years. Yeah, I wish I was the bad girl and not always the good girl. Because sometimes you look back and you realize that you operated out of a place of fear, not even knowing it was fear, but you covered it up with spirituality and religion, right? And you were like, I'm just being the good girl. Sarah said, I was always the good one. And then Nydia said, crazy. I wish I was the good girl sometimes. Sometimes I am afraid that I don't have all I want because of how bad I've been. Look, we all want to switch places. It's okay to be wanted. But when the desire of being wanted leads you down paths, then it's not healthy. But mine stemmed from feeling as if the parent didn't want me. And then we find ourselves looking for healing under anything and anybody. Next week, I'm going to talk to you guys about some of the anythings and anybodies, because I might not have a long list, but I got some anythings and anybodies that need to be talked about, so that you feel free to talk about yours. That's where I'm going to go. And I know that now, after this moment of crying, in this moment of, we're going to have a conversation about this mode tomorrow. Not on the podcast, but why have I walked out of life in fear at an early age? Not now, but at an early age. And I've suppressed it so much. Tonight is not what I thought it was going to be at all. Not at all. I've cried on here, and I'm learning something about myself even while I'm on here. I don't think I ever wanted to feel the wanted that you guys were referring to. I have to think about that. I don't think I wanted to feel the wanted. I think I wanted to feel, maybe it was wanted. It's this place of pick me, right? You're waiting for someone to pick you. But at a certain point, I didn't want to be picked. Jessica said, I met my dad when I was 17. I remember breaking down and asking him why he didn't want me. See? And I never felt that, because dad was never mentioned around me. Although I have a father wound, my wound is different than some of you, because I never knew him until I knew him. And name was never associated. But when you grow up, and that's why I mentioned some of the things early on, what that looked like, as far as where our father wound comes from. But I want you guys to, y'all gonna make me talk about something I typically don't talk about in person, in public. And you can tell I'm struggling with it. Yeah, pick me, choose me, love me. Meredith Gray. Yeah, I do know that quote. Sarah. I still have issues with my dad signing his rights over when I was 11, even though I know it was probably the best decision, that he's an abuser. Has my mom's dad's brother, if that explains it. Wow, he's my mom's dad's brother. Okay, that does explain a lot, Sarah. Y'all go, ooh, I wasn't ready. God, I wasn't ready. You didn't prepare me for this. Okay, I'm gonna get off of here, because now I know what I gotta do. I got to work on me so we can have some sex talk next week, like some serious. Have you ever gotten underneath somebody in order to help you heal or help you feel good? I got to dig into some stuff. And that's part of who I am. I don't want to talk to you about it if I can't help you through it, right? I don't want to tell if I can't tell you my journey and my place in it. And just because I only had sex with a few people doesn't mean that I never got underneath nobody to feel good. So, points I want to bring up before we get off of here. I want you to trust your inner child to come out of hiding. They must be able to trust that you will be there for them to support them. And I want you to have someone who's your accountability partner this week. That's what I want you to do. And in getting an accountability partner, I want you to be able to feel every emotion that you've suppressed and then grieve every emotion that you suppressed and that's now coming up. That's what I want you to do. And the next week, after we've done some of this work and write down all this stuff that we need to write down, we're going to go someplace about sex and how many of us have gotten into the place that we're in. I wasn't ready for that tonight. I thought I was, but I wasn't. So I'm going to get off of here. I am Dr. Tori J, and this is not a place where I am the expert or the perfect person, but it is the place where we get to engage and help one another heal and help pull out some things. And I think tonight you guys helped pull out some things in me that I was not aware of, that I have suppressed, in my own journey. So next week, we're going to talk about sexing, I guess, the inner me. It could that I blocked that rather active and misunderstood part of my life. I ended up blindly in 2 toxic relationships that resulted in losing custody. We can chat about that later. Yeah, Ryan, we're going to have to chat about that later. I'm going to go gather myself, Sarah. Yeah, because I got to talk about something. Yeah. All right. You guys have a great night. I am Dr. Tori J. I'm helping connect the dots not only to your pain, but to my own clearly tonight. And we're going to get into this sex conversation next week. Bye.